Our man, James O'Keefe, he's in Connecticut. They did catch this assistant principal who discriminates against hiring Catholics and conservatives as teachers. It's very incestuous. And until we break up these unions, this is going to continue. And more of you who can't afford to take your kids out of the public school systems, I'm afraid you need to. They've devoured them, the radical Marxist left. So let's take a look. Go.
Greenwich, Connecticut is one of the most beautiful and wealthy cities in the Nutmeg State. Now, what you're about to see is one assistant principal in charge of 360 students, defying state regulations, preventing Catholics or conservatives from being hired as a teacher. Meet Jeremy Boland, the assistant principal at Coscob Elementary in Greenwich, Connecticut. Boland met up with one of our undercover journalists and revealed stunning discriminatory hiring practices as well as his politicized beliefs on how his school should be run.
I can't get past the parents anymore.
What do you mean?
So the parents feel as though it's their responsibility to shape the schools, which then shape the kids. Right. So because I can't get past the parents, do I really have as much of an influence on the kids as I want? I try.
Well, let's stop there. This is just so unbelievable. And I'm sure this has been going on for years, and it's now ubiquitous in the public school systems. I can't get past the parents. Do I really have as much of an influence as on the kids as I want? I try my own way. So for the teachers, the parents are the enemy. For the teachers, the parents are the enemy. Now, this is Marxism, pure and simple. And this is what's pushed by the NEA and the AFT. They want to control your children. You need to understand why that is. They're at war with the nuclear family. Marx was at war with the nuclear family. Marx ultimately wanted the abolition of the nuclear family. Why? They think it is a throwback to the feudal system, to have a man and a woman in a faith-based and relationship, or even not even necessarily faith-based, in a monogamous relationship, and that those parents that control the family, the nuclear family, they get in the way of the state. They get in the way of the state. It is the state that controls each person, groups them together. We cannot have faith get in the way. We cannot have these other forms of government get in the way. We cannot have society get in the way. We certainly can't have parents get in the way. And so Marx would eventually write, as would Engels, about how illegitimate the nuclear family is and was. And that's what's going on with these entire movements about sexualizing your little kids. How do you break up a family? Well, first of all, you don't tell them if a boy says he's a girl or a girl says she's a boy, and you want to brainwash them. And that is exactly what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's hard to believe. I know it is, but it is. And this is illustrative of it. Go.
But right now, my job is to hire the right teachers.
Do we work for the parents or do we work for the kids?
You tell me.
We work for the kids.
So it's not about the parents anymore.
It shouldn't be. I don't think.
Here I am holding a copy of the Coscob 2021 to 2022 handbook. Notice how Jeremy Boland, the assistant principal's name is on here, along with recently retired principal Gene Schmidt. Now, inside this handbook, we found a quote from Boland saying, quote, "Thank you for entrusting us with the care of your child," close quote. But now watch how Boland tells our undercover journalist he doesn't hire anyone who sides with parents.
Ask me as if you're interviewing. Like, what are some of the questions you would ask?
So, I'm trying to think exactly how I word it. So in a meeting with a parent, you propose the plan you develop for your student to develop these reading skills on these concepts, and the parent disagrees with you. How do you handle it?
Okay, so if someone sides with the parent, then what?
You let them explain, and then you move on to the next question.
But then eventually the outcome of that...
They don't get the job.
See that? Look at the power this guy has. And nobody knows who this guy is. And this is an assistant principal at an elementary school in one of the wealthiest parts of the country. Go ahead.
Now watch as Bolin reveals to our journalist how he uses a specific line of questioning during the interview process to help determine if someone is conservative, which plays a key role in his evaluation on whether to hire that individual or not.
In the hiring process, how can you figure out who's conservative and who's not?
It comes down to the stories. So typically an interview is 30 minutes, which is not a long time. So you got to be very specific about the questions. So I've developed a set of questions that I use for almost all my interviews, and it's all leading them to tell a story.
So then what do you do with them? Like if they're applying for a job?
You interview them, and you call them in a few days and say, sorry, we moved forward with another candidate.
So like you would...
I haven't hired one yet.
And would you ever anything?
I don't think so. It's just that stuck mindset. I need a growth mindset.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I think one of the questions that we might start including is something about transgender students that are effective. Was it non-binary?
Yeah.
If you end up with a student who's non-binary, tell me how you approach those students. That's a good question.
So what's the correct answer to that?
You treat the student with respect. They're to educate that student. They get to choose however they want to identify.
I remember this guy's one of the people overseeing an elementary school. Now, I don't know about you, but when I went to elementary school, honestly, we weren't even thinking about sex, genitalia, let alone how we identify. So that stuff has to be put into the minds of these little kids. Has to be put into the minds of these little kids. And also when I went to elementary school, this guy would be considered a pervert. Just saying. And he'd be fired on the spot for sexualizing little kids. And yet he's not alone. There are tens of thousands of people like him now who are trained to do this throughout the school system. So what's happened here is this part of the American Marxist movement has been embraced by the Democrat Party, is represented by the Democrat Party, is defended by the media, and is now institutionalized and enshrined in our educational system, entertainment system, higher academia, and in one political party. Go.
Right, and if someone gives the opposite answer and they're in support of, or they're not in support of transgender.
Yeah. So you get somebody who's hardcore religious, hardcore conservative, they would probably say something detrimental to the fact. I don't think kids have enough knowledge to make that decision.
I don't think kids have enough knowledge to make that decision for themselves. Now, these kids are elementary school kids, okay? I don't know what it is today, but that was first grade to fifth or sixth grade. They're elementary school kids. So if you say, I don't think kids have enough knowledge to make that decision for themselves, and maybe you go on and say the parents should be involved, he won't hire you. He won't hire the teacher. Go.
If people knew that you didn't hire conservatives though, do you think they would be pissed or
I'm not allowed to ask their political leaders, and they're not allowed to ask me. So it just comes down to the questions. The way I've worded some of my questions, you can't really tell. All the proof is in the answer.
Right.
So there you go. I'm going to figure it out anyway. I often wonder how they get these interviews. Now, why would a guy like this spill his guts to this young lady who's interviewing him? Maybe they're on one of these phony dates or something. I'm serious about that. I see he's eating Chinese food, by the way. But I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah.
Bolin's hiring practices aren't limited to just blocking conservatives from obtaining a job. They go as far as discriminating against Catholics, too.
So have you found that certain religions tend to be more right-wing? What do you mean?
Almost all religion tends to be more right-wing. This guy's a bigot. in my view. Go ahead.
Everyone, and I'm not a huge expert on religion, but Protestants in this area probably are as well. If they're Catholic, it's unbelievable.
Oh, so then what do you do with the Catholics? If you find out someone is Catholic, then what?
You don't hire them if they're Catholic. What do you think of that? You don't hire them if they're Catholic. If that's not bigotry, I don't know what is. We don't hire them if they're Catholic, if they're conservative, if they don't think little elementary school kids can make decisions about their own sexual identity. We don't hire people who actually believe parents should have some input in the raising of their kids. We're going to raise their kids because they're radical, they're hard left, they embrace this Marxist ideology, and the parents don't. So they're literally taking your children and shaping them as they wish to. Go ahead.
So would you ever hire a Catholic then? I agree, but why not?
Because it's just that there's always that, if they were raised on court, it's like they're brainwashed. They never change their mindset. So when I ask them to consider something new, like new opportunities, they have to think about this differently, they're just stuck back to religion.
Here I am holding of Connecticut Law Section 46A60B, which specifically prohibits discriminatory employment practices. A violation occurs if anyone refuses to hire or employ, quote, because of an individual's race, color, religious creed, age, sex, gender identity, or expression, etc., etc. Now watch as Mr. Boland tells our journalist that he thinks he is above the Connecticut state law and school rules when it comes to potential new hires. He discriminates using religion, politics, and age.
Have you had a lot of right-wingers applying?
No. But I haven't interviewed many because I feel like I'm able to screen it out.
How so?
I need younger. So because Greenwich pays very well, you get teachers from other districts who've been there for a long time that want to come to Greenwich. But if they're older, I'm not allowed to do that. But I can't tell them I'm not interviewing you because you're older.
All right, so he's discriminating based on age. He's discriminating based on religion. He's discriminating based on political or philosophical beliefs. And you have to do all that in order to ensure that we have an ideologically correct, hardcore left teaching staff to brainwash the kids and make sure that the parents are not involved in the raising of their own children. This guy, in my view, is diabolical.
Want to see more? Sign up for Levin TV.